video introduces the concept of visual processing, explores its impact on education, and explains related concepts in scientific terms.
All kids develop at different rates. As their parents and teachers, we often notice their unique learning styles and abilities. How a child adapts to the uniformity of our education system depends on complex neuropsychological factors that make them perceive and learn differently. When a child exhibits difficulty in reading, writing, or just staying focused, we often wonder why. In many cases, these learning difficulties are not due to a lack of effort or because the child isn't trying hard enough, but due to underlying issues that require attention. Visual processing plays a key role in almost every aspect of our lives and is crucial in the learning process. Visual processing deficits and motor control issues are among the easiest addressable conditions, especially if diagnosed early. So, what exactly is visual processing? Why does it play such an important role in our lives? What role does it play in the learning process? And why is it important to catch any deficits early? Let's ask an expert.
Dr. Marcia Wiesel Leary is a school psychologist and educational consultant with over 40 years of experience. She has worked as a practicing school psychologist in 3 states, including at the University of Florida at Gainesville in the Department of Special Education, School Psychology, and Early Childhood. At Cognosketch LLC, she is an advisor, providing scientific guidance and playing a key role in defining the capabilities of the Cognosketch platform.
So, Dr. Leary, how would you describe the process of learning specifically in young children?
Well, you look basically when you're saying young children, you're talking about birth to age 5. Some places look at birth to age 8. What you're looking at is the initial development. As babies, children do things like they track, especially things close to them. You'll see people take a rattle, and you'll see a child goes back and forth, just playing things. And the same thing for auditory. And those things develop as they're at birth for the first 5 months, and then it continues to develop. And then pretty soon you'll see young children taking crayons and markers and scribbling. Unfortunately, sometimes they're scribbling on the walls, sometimes they're scribbling on the floors, but at least they're scribbling and looking at that and turning hard books, the cardboard books, and turning those and that interest and the tracking. That's the beginning of all the neuromotor and neurological starting to come together and making it useful. One of the things is as children start drawing, that you'll look at it, you draw a line, they can draw a line. Now it won't be drawing necessarily at an early age, but it'll be scribbling. But can they see that it goes up and down, as opposed to the fact that you made it go this way and they don't make it go that way. As they develop, pretty soon you'll start seeing young children, you make a circle, they make a circle. Things like that. The same thing with sounds. You'll start hearing them mimic you. Yes, and they will mimic your sounds and different things you say. All those start coming to develop together. Both the gross motor, the fine motor, the memory skills, everything. And that all comes into being perception, auditory perception, visual motor perception, visual perception. And those then become the components of development that start into the beginning readiness skills for preschoolers, things that are the beginning steps of writing, the beginning steps for reading, the beginning steps for math.
So, clearly, learning starts at birth.
Correct. And a lot of things contribute to those things. It's the child, but also the environment they're in, the stimulation they receive, how healthy are they, how healthy is their diet, various things.
Perhaps genetics too, right?
Yes, genetics can. That's still one of those things. And also things like environment. When we're talking about environment, it's not necessarily just the environment in the home and the stability and the positive reinforcement, but also literally how much pollution is there around you, how much contamination is there around you. But that's true for all of us at any given time. But it's particularly very important for babies through young children.
So, as far as the science is concerned on this, Broadly, it is classified as visual cognitive ability, auditory cognition, and there are many different aspects to it. But in this particular um, video, we'll probably focus on the visual cognitive aspect of it. And there are some terms which I feel our audience should know. For example, what is visual processing, visual motor integration, and visual cognitive function? How do these things interlink with each other as far as learning is concerned?
Okay, visual motor integration basically is integrating all those components such as visual perception. What you see, I see something, and then I internalize it as, oh, this is a number, or this is a letter, this is a circle, this is a line. The integration is that part, but then I can reproduce it, and that's the visual motor integration. Oh, I can draw a number 1. I can draw a number 2. I can draw the letter A. I can write the letter A. I can say that, and then it all becomes, it's not just like, oh, the letter A is only something I draw. The letter A doesn't have any sounds. You start pretty soon the auditory and the visual perception, but the visual motor integration is all those
All
components.
those put together. So there's a lot of factors that go into learning. It's not just if a child is struggling, it's not just they are not trying hard enough, but there could be so many other things that influence how successful a child is in the current learning process that we have, which is essentially, perceive, reproduce, recall,
Correct.
which is essentially the foundation of any learning process.
Correct, and that's what we do. We start that at birth,
Mhm.
and it goes through different stages. It even continues in stages in adulthood, because if you think about high schoolers, and then after that, people that become mechanics, people that become electricians, they're learning different aspects. They have to look at it. And how would I wire this? How does this happen? How do I do this? It's the same thing for children. So it's an ongoing thing. And some children and some adults, it comes very easily. And everyone has some deficits. And those are the things I find that people like to stay away from.
Right.
They'll procrastinate and put them, and so will children. You'll find that they don't want to do certain things. They don't want to write. They don't want to do math. Why is that? Because it's difficult.
Right, you don't want to do difficult things because
Exactly.
you feel like you're going to fail.
Right, and I'd rather do something that I know I'm good at, that I can get done quickly, than have to spend a lot of time over on this.
Precisely, and that's the reason why we have to get to the bottom of why children have learning difficulties and what is the root cause of it. And the earlier we find these, the more likely we are to find interventions and therapy in order to treat these. So the child actually enjoys the learning process.
Exactly, we don't say, oh, you can't do this, so you need to spend, we're going to make you work on this letter for 15 minutes every single day in a therapy session doing this. No, we're going to integrate, we're going to analyze why is that they're not seeing that. What is actually happening? Is it that they're not seeing it? Do they need glasses? Or is it that they're not processing it the way we see it? And what type of intervention? Because what may be needed for an intervention for one individual and one child may be very different than what's needed for another child.
You bring up a very important point because there is clearly a difference between vision and visual processing and eyesight. There are 3 completely different things.
Right.
So you may have perfect eyesight, but you could have deficits in the visual processing that makes processing visual information a challenge.
Yes, and that's very clear. One of the very basic things, as with a child as with anybody of any age, do they hear and do they see?
So, what are the telltale signs of someone who's having visual processing, problems?
Well, the simplest, as I said early on, some children you'll find they don't track all the way across, or they only track to a certain point. Or you'll find when they start even as early as some of the preschools, they might be able to trace something, but they can't replicate the same thing, or it's very difficult for them to replicate. That, if you think about it, if you're in school and you're having trouble remembering how to make letters, now you have to put these letters together in different words all the time. It's going to become very laborious and you will avoid it. Because if I don't remember how to compose it and how it's supposed to go together and then remember what the word's supposed to look like, because those are symbols, then it's going to be an issue. But why is that? Is it because I have some attention problems? Is it because I can't, if you see me make the letter, can I start it out okay on one side, but I don't remember how to get to the other side of the letter? Do I remember on a capital V if I'm printing to make a long line, but then where do I go?
There's dyslexia too, right? I mean,
Yes.
I've seen so many kids show, especially in the early years,
Mhm.
show signs of dyslexia where they're reversing things. It becomes a challenge for such kids to read, for example. Writing, of course, is a challenge
Right.
because that's the first sign that a dyslexic child will show. So, other than dyslexia, are there other known issues that are related to visual processing?
Well, there are a lot of different types of neural processing disorders, and within that, it can be dyslexia, and sometimes it can be dysgraphia, where people have trouble writing and composing. Sometimes it has a motor component to it and the recall. Sometimes some people have motor problems and motor planning problems. So that, again, is being able to analyze that other than just with a piece of pencil and paper and see that, because I can look at a child or an adult who's got a pencil and is copying designs or copying letters for me, and I can see they're having difficulty. But what exactly are they having the difficulty with? Do they have to stop? Do they hesitate? Do they, in the middle of what they're drawing, do they completely kind of forget? There's a term called aphasia in some instances, and people can just kind of forget, okay, what was I doing? How do I get back there? Do I start all over again? Unfortunately, when we have things like spelling tests and we've got written things, math, you expect people to go through at a certain pace. Even if you cut their assignment down some, it still sometimes can become quite laborious for them. And eventually they feel like I'm behind everybody else. And they are. But if they don't have interventions with that, the earlier you can intervene, the earlier you can analyze that, the better your success rate is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned aphasia, and I was wondering, is that the same kind of problem that older adults might have who are started to develop dementia? Because that's very interesting.
Right.
You'd see the same sort of challenges in older adults where they have compromised visual processing ability, and then they start to show some of the same symptoms that you just talked about.
Right, and it's the same. And sometimes something happens to someone in an accident, regardless of age, it can happen. Sometimes after strokes. Sometimes
Or after spinal surgery.
Yeah, certain medical conditions, but that can happen too. So the earlier, and even interventions with those type of things, and when you can actually intervene, yes, even for adults, they may forget how to write certain words. It's not necessarily the word they forget. They can say the word, they just can't reproduce the word or from their mind. It's a matter of what part of it, if you can analyze, if you put that word there and then they start to copy it, but they hesitate or you take it away, do they stop at some place? Can they start over and do it? Or do they do it very slowly?
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happens for children.
So when a child or an adult is slow in execution, it could just be that it is taking them that much of a challenge to overcome in order to process the visual information and react to it. So essentially it's the same concept for children and for adults if you think about it, and it's very, very fundamental to human mind and cognition.
Exactly, because we have a set level that we think everyone processes at, and it's set at this speed. Unfortunately, everybody doesn't go at that speed. It's kind of, if you think about it, it's like going down a 4-lane highway. Some people have their foot on that gas and it's going to be 80 miles an hour. Some people are going to be at 60. Some people are going to be at the speed limit. And some people are going to be on the far right hand driving 45 miles an hour. It's the same thing. It's that kind of thing. you have a variety. Unfortunately, when you have a school year, you expect the group to be at this point in reading. You expect them to be at this point in writing. You expect them to be at this point in math. And when they're not, even small gaps, the gaps get wider and wider. That in itself starts creating later more and more frustration.
Yeah, and frustration can lead to behavioral issues. It could lead to emotional problems. Maybe the child tries to overcompensate by, say,
Right.
acting up or something like that.
It's not unusual to have behavior problems in the classroom. And again, avoidance. As adults, we have certain ways we can avoid things,
Right.
and it's acceptable. As children in a classroom, a child in a classroom, you either do it, but if I don't want to do it, I'm going to find ways to get out of it. The other thing that it becomes, they become anxious, they start developing physical problems, they become sick, there's a lot of school avoidance, missing out of school, well, which compounds the issue because if I'm already having problems writing and spelling and with my reading or with my math, and then I keep missing school and missing school, I'm also not getting the instruction. It means the gap's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why it's very important at the very beginning to start really analyzing it on what is it that that child's actually having problems with.
Right. To isolate, is it visual perception?
Right.
Is it motor planning? Is it problem solving?
Exactly.
Are they able to locate and place things correctly? So it is important to isolate each of these things, irrespective of what disorder they may have dyslexia, they may have developmental coordination disorder, autism.
Or they may just have delays with starting out. They may never have had experience with it. So you're assuming because they are 5 or 5.5 or 6 years old that they know how to do this because all children that age know how to do it. Not necessarily.
Right. So, if a child has learning difficulties, then when should parents and educators start looking into VMI skill testing and assessments like that?
Well, teachers generally see things in the classroom. They'll see things such as fatigue. The child tires easy. Is it that the head goes down, the arm lays out, the hand goes down. They get tired of holding the pencil, or just avoidance. Some behavior problems. Sometimes the avoidance. They might get up. They need to use the restroom. They need to go someplace else. They want to know how soon they're going to get to do something else. Sometimes those are avoidance. Avoidance isn't a thing that exists just by itself. I know the term anxiety is used a lot. Anxiety, most people think if someone is anxious, they're very nervous and it's outward. That's not necessarily true. That's a type of anxiety. For children, it can be the same as it can for adults. For some people, anxiety is internal and it can keep going, and individuals will avoid certain things, certain groups, certain people, certain tasks. It can later on actually lead to depression. So that's why it really needs to be addressed. Teachers, particularly parents of young children, teachers, daycare providers, preschool teachers may see some things that they're concerned about later. See if the parents notice anything like that. Do they like to draw at home? Do they like to get books out? Will they avoid all those kind of things? Do they not want to come to preschool? Do they not want to come to school? Why is that? They're fine in the morning. Well, what activities do you do in the morning? It's all group activities. Well, what kind of things do they do in the afternoon? Well, we have recess, and then they're at lunch, and then they're out for PE, or they're fine then. But when it's actual task activities that are visual motor integration tasks, that become an issue for them. As early as parents and teachers see that together, or if a parent even sees some of that at home and says something to the teacher, that's the time to look at it.
Also, if they're trying to avoid homework, if they're not turning in their homework in time, that could be a sign that they're not enjoying it as much at home. Of course, homework does seem like a task, but still, if that's a pattern, like you're not turning in your homework, you're not doing any work at home, that could be a sign too.
And again, if the homework becomes so grueling for the child that it becomes an issue between the parent and the child.
Yeah.
And then you go to school the next day and the teacher is saying, you haven't turned anything in. This is not completed. We haven't gotten anything from you for how long? That starts creating all sorts of other psychological things. So if you are already having some processing problems and then all these start developing, because they don't just, oh, by the age of 8, this just starts happening. No, they happen in different ways at different ages.
So just keeping a really good watch on how your child responds to work in the class and at home would be a good thing to do, and to follow up on and do some VMI assessments based on that. So what kind of VMI assessment is currently in use today, and what's the process?
Well, generally when you're talking about visual motor integration, you're talking about a referral to a school psychologist, to a psychologist, and they'll look at the Berry VMI, which is a pencil and paper task, or they'll look at the Bender Gestalt, which is another task. Again, it's pencil and paper, and then they, the psychologist will look at that. Occupational therapists are another group that use that all the time. They can look at that and say, okay, we are seeing these things. Just knowing what, again, you have to look at developmental levels. What's expected in the developmental level, and then what's going on in schools right now.
So let's talk about Cognosketch Assess and how this assessment is different from all the other VMI assessments that we have right now, and how that can be beneficial to parents and to educators in finding out what's going on with their child.
Well, one of the nice things that I like about it is the fact that, number one, it's not just one-dimensional. I can see where the child starts. I can see where their hesitations are. I can see where they're slow. I can see, which allows you to actually look at their processing. Can they do it? They can actually retry it. If I see a child that tries to do a design and can't do it and wants to try again, and they try again and they get a little farther, well, they still can't get it. But on the third try, they get it. That tells me I can actually take those segments and look at them and see, oh, look, within 3 trials, they were able to do this. Now, if I'm looking at patterns and I see the same kind of skill all the time, is it motor planning? Is it a various type of thing? Do they have trouble tracking certain things? I'm going to be able to look at that, and then the interventions can be dealt around that, because if you think about that, letters are symbols, and the same type of thing, numbers are symbols. If you look at all that, and that will impact your basic skills, which impacts your daily living skills as a child and impacts your daily living skills as an adult. But it's nice because, again, it has speeds, it has errors, and then you can actually look for interventions and patterns for those type of things.
So there are specific interventions for each and every kind of a finding that gets flagged in the assessment.
Correct.
For example, motor planning, we have a different set of age-appropriate recommendations for remedial action. There will be more information shared with you on our future videos on how to interpret reports, what to look for in a report, and what the recommendations actually mean. So we will be back talking about more of those things in the next video. Thank you, Dr. Deere.
Thank you.